does it matter?
Anything really matters?
Where does it matter? I mean, it matters
Well,
a
it
lot.
does matter.
What's the
It
matter?
matters.
Well, it does matter.
Does it matter to you? Does it matter to you? Does it matter to you?
I mean, what does it matter?
And that matters a lot.
What does it matter?
What's the matter? Does it matter to you?
It matters to me.
Welcome to Tallahassee Matters. I'm Tamara Smith. From revitalized city streets to eco-friendly golf courses, today we'll visit 2 spots in the city to showcase artwork completed in the last year. Over the last 20 years, the city has made significant renovations to Gaines Street. In our first segment, we'll visit the site of Declaration, a towering glass and steel sculpture symbolizing the many changes in this area. We'll go behind the scenes to see the creative minds working to bring this statue to life.
Tonight we are celebrating a beautiful sculpture, and you'll hear more about that in a few moments. But we are also celebrating the completion of a long Gaines Street renovation and upgrade battle that has gone on for many, many years now in our community, starting probably more than 15 years ago.
20 years ago, we were not at this stage. We made some tough decisions. We were criticized at various points for some of those decisions. But the elected leadership and the community leadership said, we've got to make some things happen in order for us to see what we're experiencing today. We are experiencing a renaissance in this community. This is just one very public display of all of the great things that are still yet to come in the city of Tallahassee. We are the capital city of what will soon be the 3rd largest state in the union. What is happening in this corridor is tremendous for this community. It's going to take us a long way down the road to retaining some of the talent that is coming off of these college campuses, the young professionals who are looking for good quality of life to come here and reside and have fun, make money, raise a family, and contribute back to this city.
And the final speaker tonight, ladies and gentlemen, before we let the new Declaration sculpture shine, is the artist of this new beautiful amenity to our community. Please join me in welcoming Kenneth Von Rowan, director of the Florida State University Master Craftsman Studio.
Well, this is a night we've all been looking for a long time.
The project began when I learned that there was going to be a roundabout just at the entrance of Master Craftsman Studio. And I asked what the plans were for the center of that, and was told that it was to be an oak tree. And I'd ask if a sculpture would be considered, and they said perhaps.
That was an opportunity that presented itself when the Ken Von Rowan with the Master Craftsman took it upon himself to come up with a concept for some kind of iconic feature at that roundabout.
3 weeks later, I did the presentation, and things just kept moving forward. I've been working in architectural art for 44 years. I closed the studio in Louisville, Kentucky last summer to come to Florida State and to work in the development of a new public and architectural art program, as well as serve as the director of Master Craftsman Studio. Master Craftsman Studio is really unusual in a lot of ways. We are, as our name implies, craftsmen, but it's craft that is joined with art. That's the foundation of what we are about, and that is creating and fabricating artworks that have a role in other environments. The process of creating a work has a lot of different phases. There's an initial phase of kind of excitement as a design or a concept begins to grow.
We'll find out, won't we?
As I begin to see what it can become. From that excitement then comes the heavy lifting part of it, which is designing it so that the way that it's fabricated and installed is consistent with the original concept. Then it goes from that to the anxiety of fabrication.
Ken at Master Craftsman called me. We've done quite a few projects together in the past. He called and wanted to go over this project with us, and we started off with a little drawing, a sketch, and then we just started putting our ideas together how to build this thing, how to make it work. Everything had to be precise so the glass would fit. The glass was pre-ordered, so we had to make it fit exactly. There wasn't any change in it.
There are always things that are discovered that you can't always anticipate. And then there is the real anxiety during the installation.
We ended up fabricating small parts here and taking it out to the job site and build it in place. Kind of had to figure it out as we went. We had to build the scaffolding to hold the top ring up and then kind of build it from that. The deadline was the biggest stress. The time frame to have everything fabricated and polished was longer than the schedule, so that kind of put pressure on getting it done to the last minute. And it was done at the last minute. Once we got everything set, it went pretty smooth.
After Bettinger welded it all up, it was a lot of planning. There were some things that were unknown as we entered the project, and a lot of that was to be figured out by me. How we were getting into the wedges was one of the major issues. Initially, the clips that we were going to use didn't work, and so we had to fabricate some new ones, and that was just a matter of Ken and I talking and figuring out how that was going to work. We had input from the other employees as well, and I think just all in all, every project kind of goes like that. We work as a team to figure those things out. First, we got all of the stringing cables in. From there, we had an interlaced lattice structure of cable that we were able to take our diamond clips and mount each piece of glass to the cable. And we mounted that with silicone, and so each of the four corners of the diamonds are solidified into the cable structure with these diamond clips. Getting into this project, I'd say the most difficult part was time. We needed to have it done by the dedication.
The glass that I chose was one that has a very unusual characteristic in that when light strikes it from one distance or from one direction, or when it's viewed from one direction, you see one color. When the light moves, or when the individual moves in their viewing perspective, those colors shift and they change.
For a long time, Master Craftsman has been at the head of Gaines. We've always wanted Gaines Street to be an artistic corridor, and I think this really opens as a gateway to that strip on Gaines and the artistic community that's trying to develop there.
Gaines Street has gone through an amazing transformation. I mean, I remember it from when I was a student here in the late 60s, and it was an incredibly run-down neighborhood, one that we would never come down to. And now it's become this incredibly vital area of Tallahassee. And so the purpose of this was for the sculpture to really serve as a symbol of this transformation, as though it's a declaration that this is a very significant event that has occurred in Tallahassee's history.
When I first got involved with the project in 2001, at that point the concept was that the DOT would come in and do the widening of Gaines Street, which would go from 4-lane undivided roadway into a 4-lane divided roadway with the ability to possibly go even to 6 lanes and come up with a major arterial. That would have basically impacted the properties significantly on either side of Gaines Street, to the point where the buildings would have been demolished. We needed to change the aesthetics, we needed to change the land uses, we needed to change what the feel of Gaines Street was. And one of the elements to doing that was changing the ownership of Gaines Street from the state's DOT ownership to the city's ownership. We worked very closely with the Revitalization Committee, which was a group of citizens and business owners. We worked with the commissions, both the city and the county. We had a flash mob dance for Gaines Street and trying to get that information put out there. We were able to take $18 million worth of improvements on the street, okay, and encourage over $320 million of improvements, private improvements on the periphery of Gaines Street or in and around the corridor, which is huge. It's a huge return. It's very positive.
Well, this is a night we've all been looking for a long time. But it's hard to believe that it actually began less than 6 months ago, 5 months ago, didn't it? And this was a very quick and very expedient process, but it came to be because we had an unbelievable team that was led really by the city. And the city is without a doubt the greatest client that I've ever had.
From the very beginning, the city was very engaged in helping bring this thing to a reality. And they have made it much better. They have been just a fantastic client. They've been very supportive of the idea of public art in this location.
It's a very special place in my heart. None of you really know, but I went to school here from 1966 to 70, and it's really where I began to recognize who I was. And it is an incredible honor to come back here to bring something back to the community that was so integral to the beginning of my foundation of my 44-year career. It means a great deal to me. So thank you as a community. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and I hope everyone loves it as much as I do. Thank you.
Public art can change the overall viewpoint of art within a community. I think I've seen that already on this piece for sure. It's opened up people's mind about what art can be.
It's something that belongs to the entire city, and there's a quality and a characteristic that people will take away from their experience. The intent of the work, in general terms, is to make the movement and the approach down Gain Street more interesting and more exciting, more memorable. All of that improves everyone's lives each day.
I think for Tallahassee, it's something new, something we don't have anywhere else. It's a good step for art in the community.
It marks a place, and it establishes a location that is of importance. This has been consistently the role of public art throughout history. They express an identity and a meaning that the community can all share in. It says something about that particular city, and that everyone can have an identity with that.
We need the icons. We need that public art. We need those things to pretty much embody those places. Hopefully it'll rise in prominence to where once you see it, you recognize that's Tallahassee.
Does it matter to you?
It matters to me.
Like that. That's what we keep telling him.
Can I join you? Burger. Bob, how was the trip?
What's that? Who does that?
Good, thank you. She's hot for me.
Over 550 children in Tallahassee are missing the simple joys of being a kid.
I miss having my own bed. I miss having our own house.
Join the Change for Change program by simply adding a monthly contribution to your city utility account. For the cost of just a gallon of milk, you can help all our kids enjoy the simple, extraordinary things about just being a kid.
matters to me.
Welcome back to Tallahassee Matters. I'm Tamara Smith. When most people think of art, power tools aren't the first thing to come to mind. But for local artist John Birch, chainsaws are more useful than paintbrushes. We'll show you why in our next segment as we take you to Hylaman Golf Course. Let's take a look.
I was a prosthetic technician, and I had a call from a number of wood bowl turners, the Tallahassee turners here in town, and they said, "There's a tree, I'd love to carve it." And not 10 minutes later, another guy called me up and said, "John, there's a tree, you gotta do something with it." And finally, Hylaman called me up a couple days later and said, "Listen, could you come out and look at this?" When I came out, oh, I loved it. I knew I could do something with it.
Tallahassee is famous for their beautiful live oaks, and this particular tree had been struck by lightning 3 times, and we had wired it together with rods, and it finally just died.
It was time for it to come down. It was recommended by several arborists that the tree be taken down.
It was a centerpiece at the golf course. We did a fundraiser, so the people who play golf here contributed and donated money. It meant so much to the golfers, and that's why we decided to carve it. John is a local artist. He's a very unique, talented person. We knew of his art around the city, and that's what made us approach him.
I love trees, and when I see a tree go down, especially in Tallahassee, I see these massive live oaks, and I hate to see it go to waste, so I figured I'm recycling these trees. I've been in Tallahassee about 37 years. And I had never taken any art classes. I can't draw. Two-dimensional art, to me, is amazing. I can't do that. What I do is three-dimension. I don't have to worry about making it look something that it's not. Come on, baby. When I go out there, I've already got it in my mind what I'm going to be working on. It doesn't always work that way, but usually it does. And when I'm carving it, it's working away. I'm figuring it out, what I'm going to be using to carve it. And sometimes I'll just get stuck. This probably weighs about 500 or 600 pounds. I'm going to take this home and I'm going to carve it into a fox. It'll be much easier to do at a table at my house than it will be standing on my truck. People really know me for my large carving, but I've done a whole lot more smaller carvings. This bowl right here actually came from the governor's mansion. I call this Bam Bam's rattle, and it goes bam bam. Okay, I'm going to get my little saw. My tree carving hasn't made a whole lot of money. My wife has been very supportive. She understands that this is really something that I need to do. However, I'm 55. I feel like maybe the chainsaws are getting a little heavy, and I'm starting to slow down.
We're in the process of getting our Audubon certification. The Audubon certification is about being green. We've worked hard to reduce our chemical usage and water conservation and planted native plants. So one of the reasons we wanted to have it carved the way we did was we wanted to reflect the Audubon things that you would see out here, like tree frogs and herons. We have hawks and foxes and things like that.
Great. This is beautiful. I think it's wonderful.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's unique. I think if you look at it, you see different things every time you look at it, and it's a true representation of what we are and how important being green and the Audubon certification is to us.
It is very nice to be finished with it. It's taken about 6 months to do, so it's nice that it's done. It was a very changing piece of work as I carved it. It was, I enjoyed most of it.
That's all for this edition of Tallahassee Matters. For WCOT, I'm Tamara Smith. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.